You're dialed in to the Dawg Pound Podcast, your weekly shot of Cleveland Browns recaps, reactions, and rants with your hosts, Jon Drake and Chris Aiken.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 12 of the Dawg Pound Podcast. And I am your host, Jon Drake. With me, as always, is Chris Aiken. And after 2 weeks of happiness and joy and just wonderful good vibes, we have come crashing back down to earth. And unfortunately, my prediction from last week was correct, man. We got rolled.
Yeah, it's funny that, I wish people could see the texting that you and I do during the game. It's not often that me and you actually get together during the game. You know, we usually do about once a year, I think, but this year we haven't for some reason. I don't know why. I guess you don't like me anymore or something, but it's funny because the whole game you and I were texting a lot this game here. And the whole game was son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch. My head's going to explode. I can't watch this anymore. Now I really can't watch this anymore.
Yeah.
You were just like losing your shit from like 3 seconds into the game on. It was you were definitely not enjoying the game one iota.
No, it was so deflating. I mean, it was just unbelievable. I mean, the defense right off the bat just was garbage. And I was like, oh boy, this isn't any good. And the offense really wasn't doing much. I mean, Baker, he was like, 4 for something in the first half for like 45 yards, and just he threw those 3 picks, and it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it was just ugly right away.
You know what? It was ugly right away, and it was exactly kind of what we talked about last. It's weird that we talked about this last week, and we almost said it in a way of, well, I sure hope this doesn't happen, but like we saw it was going to happen. We talked at length last week about eventually Baker's going to have a bad game. And we talked at length last week about young players always seem to hit the wall at this part of the season. And lo and behold, what came out? They came out, and it looked, at least in the first half, it looked like, and really in the second half too. I know they came back, but I didn't think they played that well in the second half either.
I thought they played a lot better.
They played better, but better from bad is still bad. I honestly, I mean, and that's, that's the fact that they scored some points and got back into the game is Cleveland mentality that we're looking at it as. The second half was okay. The first half was terrible. Just because
usually they quit though.
Yeah, well, and I'm not taking that away from them. But I will take, and we'll get into it, because there were definitely things in the second half that were more egregious than the first half. The 3 picks were, 2 of the 3 picks were what they were Baker trying to do too much. The third one just was a tip ball, and, that happens, whatever.
Well, the third one was the throw into the end zone. The only one I think that was kind of fluky was the pick 6, because the linebacker basically like reached up and kind of
tipped it up,
pawed at it. Yeah, with one hand. That could have just been a deflection, but
yeah, no, it was, and I mean, they for that being said though, I still think that the second half there were way more problems in the second half than people are writing about right now or talking about right now. Specifically, I'll point to Antonio Callaway, the 2 touchdowns. It wasn't his fault necessarily, but the 2 that didn't happen were clearly should have had. And even you texted me like, I can't watch them score touchdowns and lose them. And it just showed that there was a breakdown on all levels of the team. They were not locked in. They were not focused. And, Callaway missing that one. Come on, dude. He's got to make that catch. No?
Yeah. I mean, it was.
You're a pro now. You're a pro. You're 12 games in.
I have no excuse for that.
You know.
Yeah, I have no excuse for that. And those touchdowns, it's like, you get two 76-yard touchdowns within 3 plays, and neither of them sticks. It's like, I mean, dude, to me that changed the game, because if you score there, I mean, you're
29-21. You're in.
It would have been even if you don't get the extra point, if you don't get the 2-point conversion, it would have been 20 what was it, 29-13. It would have made it a 2-score game. I think it might have been like 26-13 or something like that.
Right.
So you're within 2 touchdowns, and at that point, then you had, I think, like 4 or 5 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yeah.
So you're still in it, because if you get a stop, just get a couple stops, whatever, and you go down and score again, it's a 1-score game. So you're looking at an onside kick and whatnot. But when they failed on that, first with the hold on Robinson, and then Callaway getting caught from behind, and the guy just made a good play on the ball. It's a backbreaker, because you got a 3-score game, and there's just not enough time against a team like that. I mean, 2 scores, it sounds dumb, 2 to 3, but there really is a big difference between 2 and 3 scores when you look at it. So,
and it's always good, and it's always 3 scores is almost insurmountable when you are playing a great team. And let's be fair, the Texans are a great team. It's not like we lost to the Cardinals, and we lost to a very, very legitimate, deep in the playoffs team. I think that's my impression from watching them. They look like a very good team, a very tough team to beat. So they shouldn't feel any kind of shame in that loss at all, but they've got to play better. It was like the one thing that I noticed specifically across the board in the game was all of that hyped upness, or whatever you want to call it, and all of that focus that they had the 2 games previous just wasn't there, and it wasn't there from the kickoff of the game yesterday.
They looked scared.
Yeah, they did look scared, and they played scared. And I mean, I know we love to kill Amos, famous Amos, for the special teams.
Right.
And I know this play didn't count, and I know they brought it back, but right from the jump, a 50-yard return.
Yeah.
Right from the start, the special teams were lousy. Right from the start, they were lousy. And I know you don't agree at the end of the game that the onside kick was, that he was offsides, but
I didn't think he was.
He was. I watched it back, and I even watched it back again when you told me to watch the replay in text, and he was definitely offsides, which once again goes to discipline being taught by Amos Jones. Because that was a perfect kick. It really was a perfect kick. Yeah. And what's his name? Charles or Fells? Was it Fells? It was Fells.
Yeah, it was one of the tight ends. I forget.
Yeah, I think it was Fells. Fells would have had that play anyway if he would have just waited till the ball was kicked. He would have still been where he was standing, because he was standing there for about a second before the ball got to him.
Yeah. So
he would have been able to get the ball and down it, or take it out of bounds or whatever, and maintain possession. So, again, the special teams let us down, by poor play. And Houston may have given it back to us with that penalty on the 50-yard, 50-yarder to start the game. But at the same time, that's still a breakdown on special teams. So we had breakdowns there. What's his name? Greg Robinson. Robinson all of a sudden decided that, now admittedly he was playing a much better talent this week, rushing against him, but he came back down to earth as well. And it was little things that he kept getting. How many penalties did he have yesterday? At least 3.
I think it was only 2, actually.
Was it 2? I heard his name more than once for holding and whatnot. And I get it. It's J.J. Watt. It's Javainian Clowney. I get it. These guys are the cream of the crop, and you got to stop them, and you got to protect your quarterback at all costs. But he came back down to earth, and it just that right there really dorked up the offense, especially at the beginning of the game. I thought that it, they came out at the beginning of the game, and they were immediately rattled by the rush, the defense. And they stopped doing what has made this team good for the last 2 weeks. Didn't you think?
Yeah, I definitely do. It's interesting because they didn't give up a sack again, which you would think, with with a defensive line like that would not be the issue. But yeah, I thought they played scared. I thought they had a good game plan. I mean, we said like the first thing that we said was they have to go with the quick hitter passes to negate that pass rush, and they did exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
They did a lot of the screen pass stuff that we said they needed to do. So, they did that too. But Nick Chubb was having success running the ball, and they only gave it to him 9 times in the game.
Yeah,
which I do not understand that.
No.
And
they didn't give and when they were struggling on offense in the first half, they didn't come back closer to the quarterback. There's kind of an unwritten rule that when you're in offense is that when you're not moving the ball, you bring the offense closer to the ball, and then you look for yak yards after the catch. I don't even think I heard Jarvis Landry's name twice in the first half. And
yeah, it was mostly second half stuff. Yeah.
And I mean, if you're going to, if Baker had 3 interceptions, which he obviously did, and most of them were, mid-range to longer range passes, bring the ball closer. And who's the best at it? The guy that's led the league in catches the last 3 years being a slot receiver, Jarvis Landry. So throw the ball 5 yards over the middle and let him get his yardage and let him, 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3, give us better opportunities to move the ball. And I mean, what were they doing the whole game? Or at least most of the first half and a good part of the second half, it seemed like we were in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 15. It seemed like we had longer to go on 3rd down. And man, You give a defense like that a cushion of 5 yards to hold you back from, and they're going to beat you. And they did. They beat us sound. I think we got beat a lot worse than the score showed. I thought
I agree. I mean, definitely the first half.
I'm saying for the whole game. I thought the Texans did what we did a couple weeks ago, and they took their foot off our throat at the end of the game. But they could have run it up more. It felt like they could have put another touchdown or 2 on the board, and they didn't. They started running the ball like 2/3 of the way through the third quarter. They kind of stopped throwing the ball a ton and did a lot more running the ball, and we had no answer for it. What's his name? Miller had, how many yards did he have yesterday? It had to be a lot, didn't it?
It was only 103, but
is that it?
Alfred Blue had like 54.
Yeah. So,
and then you had the yardage by Watson. I mean, they rushed. I think it was like 187 or something like that total when you factor in like negative runs and stuff like that. So I mean, they ran all over us. I mean, there's no doubt. And I thought the second half was better than some people did. I mean, and maybe it's because they didn't quit. And people say, oh, the defense softened up. Well, not that much. Even J.J. Watt himself said that Baker Mayfield adjusted and started chewing him up. So, I mean, he had 45 yards passing in the first half and 342 yards passing in the second half. So, the defense even if the defense did soften up a little bit, you don't get 342 yards of softened up defense. You just don't. That's part of that is Baker actually making plays and going back to what he's been doing the previous several weeks. But
right. That's where he showed. What yesterday showed is that he's still a rookie, because he has to, what he did, and I agree with you fully. He definitely, he showed a bunch of heart. He showed himself as a leader. He didn't quit. He didn't let his team quit, and he brought the team right back into it. I fully agree with you on that in the second half. But where he showed himself as a rookie was, that's got to be 4 quarters. You can't play in the NFL halfway. And that was a clear rookie thing yesterday. Baker was not focused the way Baker should have been focused in that first half. I don't know if he was trying to put too much on his shoulders. That's what I felt like in the first half, because he was throwing even a couple of the passes that weren't picked off, just were like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, he was trying too hard.
Yeah, he was trying to carry the whole team. Like, he read just a little bit too much of his own press last week.
I agree.
He read that player of the week and player of the month and was like, hey, damn right, I'm Baker Mayfield, and you know what? He's only going to be as good as his focus ever is. The great, and this is not new to Baker Mayfield. The best quarterbacks in the world, in the history of the game have had bad times. I mean, 2 years ago they were talking about, is Tom Brady's career over? And Tom Brady's still a fairly decent quarterback, I would say.
Exactly.
So I mean, but for Baker, it's new, and he really, to me, came out flat, and the team. The thing with this guy, with Baker Mayfield, is that how he plays is really going to be an encapsulation of the entire team. He played flat in that first half, and I mean everybody was flat. The Chubb couldn't get any real traction going. The receivers were flat. The defense was getting run up all over. They were flat. They were flat-footed right from the start. The guy has that magnetic personality, I guess, that really portrays itself to the rest of the team. And once he started firing up in the second half, well, all of a sudden, Higgins is catching balls, and Ridley's catching balls, and Perriman's catching balls, and the defense is playing better, and Myles Garrett is getting some sacks, and they're playing a little more juiced up. And I really think that the learn from this for Baker anyway has to be that he has to be 4 quarters plus a half hour before the game on top of his game to carry this team, because he's being with the way it's designated right now, he has to carry this team. Not anybody else, not the coaches, not Myles Garrett, not Denzel Ward. He has to carry this team. And if he comes out flat, it takes everybody with him. And that's what I thought happened yesterday.
Well, I think what you're describing is pretty much true for any of the good quarterbacks in the league. They as the quarterback goes, so goes the rest of the team. So I think that's, in an odd way, I mean, that's a positive for us, that, we finally have that guy that you can apply that logic to, instead of just going, okay, well, there's Brandon Weeding throwing crap sidearm and everything, right. Underhanded and all this, So yeah, I completely agree with you. I came out and said it yesterday during the first half. I said, Baker is playing like crap, and he was forcing throws that he never did previously. And I'm glad that you mentioned it, that even some of the throws that were completions, you're like, what the hell? Like I said the same thing. I was going, why are you throwing that? I mean, because if you notice in previous games, and granted, it's against crappier defenses, but he would throw the ball, and when the guy caught it, he had a couple yards to work with. Yesterday, everything he threw, the guy was getting drilled as soon as he caught the ball. Yeah. So I mean, the Texans were all over them, but a lot of those in the first half, I mean, he was just thrown into coverage like crazy. And I mean, I was watching, like you said, exactly what you said. Even the completions, you're like, what the hell are you doing? And the interceptions, like I said, that pick six was kind of a little bit flukish, because the linebacker reaches up and kind of one hands it, and so that was. But the second one threw into coverage to the point where as soon as he threw it, you see where it's going. You're going, what the hell is that? Yeah. And then the third one at the end of the first half, he throws that deep ball for Njoku, and there's 3 damn defenders back there. It's like, what the heck? And it was, what he's been excellent at all season long is taking what the defense gives him. Mm-hmm. And the first half yesterday, he did not do that. Yeah. And, so he comes out in the second half, and all of a sudden he's doing what he was doing before, taking the check down and throwing to the open receiver and going through his reads and, playing like Baker. Mm-hmm. And we saw the result. I mean, it's so insane. But, I try to look for positives in a game like that, because, this is a growth year and everything. Sure. And, he set the Browns rookie record for passing in a game, even though he threw 3 picks and they got basically boathoused. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, he still finished with he completed 67% of his passes for 397 yards. Yeah. And it's like, so that tells you right there that the guy's got something. He didn't. And the biggest thing that I noticed was, on the sidelines, beginning of the third quarter and throughout the third quarter, they would show him on the sideline looking at the game and walking around. He looked like the game hadn't even started yet. He still had that fire and that energy. Like, he couldn't give a shit less what was on the scoreboard. And then they'd show like the receivers, and they're kind of like hang-dogging it on the sideline. Like, you can just tell he does not quit. He never thinks he's out of the game. And as crappy as it was, I was like, well, at least there's that. That's good. Because, I mean, we need to see that. We knew we weren't going to the playoffs unless some unbelievable long shot happened, which we all knew wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And so, you know, for the season to be a success, you want to come out of it going, okay, Baker's definitely a franchise quarterback. And I think every week he's showing us something different to make us more and more confident in the fact that he is that.
Yeah.
But again, that said, you know, that first half was terrible. And I completely agree with you that, you know, he was reading his press clippings and he was, you know, thinking, okay, well, I'm Baker. I can do this. I can do that. It's like, well, yeah, but now you're up against a real defense. So you got to learn a lesson here, dude. And thankfully, you know, another positive, he's obviously smart enough to make adjustments because he came out that second half and even J.J. Watt said it. He made adjustments and started carving us up. So, you know, when the other team says, yeah, he was kicking our ass and, I mean, especially a guy like J.J. Watt, for him to come out and say that kind of thing is, you know, that's huge compliment, and that's good. So he obviously has the intelligence and the football smarts to sit down and look at this tape and go, okay, I F this up, I F this up, I F this up, and actually correct what needs to be corrected instead of just beating his head into a wall like all the other guys we've had for all these years.
Right, sure. No, and as much as we're doing it right now, it's not all him. You know, I think a big part of it is him. I think the way this team plays is based a lot on him. But there was a lot of good and bad that came out of yesterday's game. You know, one area that I think had both was the receivers. You know, I thought that everybody, I'm going to take Callaway out of this mix for a second. I thought everybody else really stepped up yesterday for the very most part. I thought Perriman played really well. I don't know.
He's looking like a good pickup, isn't he?
Well, I mean, there's a reason he was a first-round pick, and he very well might just be one of these guys that wrong scene, wrong coaching, wrong whatever, you know, change of scenery has helped. Because even when he wasn't catching the ball yesterday, I mean, some of his blocking downfield was really nice.
Yep.
You know, he had some really good blocks yesterday. He made some appropriate catches when we needed them yesterday. He's looking like a player that's probably going to stick around for a little while. He may have been picked up off of waivers, but he may have played himself into, you know, another year, especially if he keeps it up for the last 4 games. I thought he played really well. I thought Jarvis Landry played maybe his best game of the entire season yesterday. He didn't have a ton of opportunities for longer, you know, catches and yards and whatever. But man, he was making some really that one-handed catch was pretty darn sweet.
Oh my God, that was amazing! I was like, how did he catch that?
Yeah.
I mean, it was behind his body with his opposite hand. Like, what the heck?
And he had that other play too where he got rolled over but still caught the ball. You know, I mean, he played very well yesterday, and he's another guy that if he's not on the play, he's still part of every play. He'll run to the other side to make a block. You know, if he's lined up on the left and the play is to the right, he will run all the way across, and if there's need, he'll get his head in there and throw a block. So I thought he played really well yesterday. What's the other kid's name? Higgins. I thought Higgins played pretty well yesterday. You know, a little slow in the first half, but he came on in the second half. He played okay. You know, I thought the receivers in general played pretty well yesterday. Antonio Callaway, though, my man's got to catch the ball, dude. I mean, we're 12 weeks in. He's still dropping the same stuff he was dropping in week 1. He's got to catch those balls. You know, he's the deep threat. We should get a collection together, buy him a jugs machine, set it to throw the ball 75 yards downfield, and just have him running down the field every practice and catching 75-yard pass after pass after pass. That's his job. We got rid of Gordon in large part because we thought this was the guy that could do the same thing that Gordon was doing. So he's got to do it. He's got to make those catches. You know, I know it's a difficult catch and you're running full speed and you're trying to beat a defensive back. I get all that. But you know, it's the NFL. I don't care. Excuses.
Yeah, you get paid to do that. That's your job.
That's your whole job is, you know, we're not looking at Antonio Callaway to catch 10-yard outs. We're looking to him to take the ball deep, to stretch the field so that Chubb can run the ball. And, you know, when he's missing, when he's dropping those balls, the consequence to it is when a guy can't catch a ball and you keep targeting him like Callaway has been doing for the last several weeks, what do? They drop the double coverage and go to a single coverage. They, instead of pushing the safety off to slide to that side, you know, they'll pull the safety either to the other receiver or pull him in to protect against the run. And that's why Chubb did not have a huge game yesterday. I didn't think he did. I mean, I don't know what his yardage was, but it just looked like he was struggling to get moving on a lot of plays, and it was because they were stacked up in the box some, because they had no fear of anybody yesterday. I don't think there was double coverage on a receiver yesterday at all, was there?
I couldn't tell you for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if there wasn't. I mean, they did say that they weren't blitzing very much because they wanted to put guys in coverage to throw Baker off.
Yeah.
Because he's so good about moving out of the pocket when the blitz comes.
Yeah.
And, you know, throwing, you know, from the right or left side of the pocket. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Chubb, I think I know he only had 9 carries, which again,
yeah.
I don't understand that.
Yeah,
but I think it was only for like 31 yards, yeah. So it was under 4 yards a carry.
Right, and Duke didn't do much. Duke again did not do a ton.
He had that one long catch and run, which was cool. But
that was cool, but that's one play, you know. And I'm just gonna say it. I'm ready to cut David Njoku. I don't care. I don't care what gifts this guy has anymore. You know, I'm tired of bringing up his name in negative. Dude,
I didn't think he was that bad yesterday.
He was okay yesterday, but I have one play that is it's a high school play. He's still making high school like mistakes. It was I think it was the third quarter, might have been the fourth. It was in the second half. He got the ball. He was like 3 yards short of the first down. His choice was to it was third and whatever. His choice was to take the hit and get the first down or step out of bounds. He stepped out of bounds and just to avoid a hit. And it's like, dude, you're in the NFL now, dude. You got to get the first down. All he had to do was fall down, and he would have got the first down. But he stepped out of bounds, and I think I even texted you right at that moment. I was like, fucking Njoku, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and I'm sure you probably were looking at it like, what is he pissed off about? You know, because the announcers didn't even say anything or nothing, but it was like, dude, you're an NFL tight end. You're supposed to take hits. You're supposed to get yardage. That's your job. As a tight end, you're supposed to protect your quarterback on 2 of every 3 plays, and on the third one, be available at that 6 to 10 yard out to get a first down, to move the chain. Nobody's asking you to run for 80 yards. It's not Madden. You know, we don't necessarily need a big, giant, long play from you. But when you can get a first down and you choose not to, and that's a choice, that's just Bush League, man. That's when guys like Charles and Fells should be up in the coach's ear saying, hey, I would have taken the hit and got the first down.
Yeah.
You know, it annoys me that this guy has that much talent, but so many boneheaded plays that he continues to make.
Yeah. I just felt, again, you know, that the whole team was acting intimidated.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand why.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they came in. I mean, the game plan was kind of scared, and there wasn't any. Okay, we're gonna try and punch you in the mouth. You know, we're gonna try and run it up the gut here. We're gonna let Chubb, you know, kick some ass. Yeah. And
dude,
I don't understand that. It was the first game that I really questioned Freddie Kitchens. I was like, I really, like, as much as, you know, we were praising them for doing the quick hitters and stuff like that. That's great and everything, but it just, there was that vibe of, okay, this is, you know, a 4-6-1 team going, we're playing a team with an 8-game win streak that's 8-3 lead. It just, you know, it was like a little brother, big brother thing to me.
It felt
and
last
I
year
didn't
a little
like
bit.
that.
It felt last year a little bit.
Yeah, it did. And I just didn't like it. And I mean, again, there are positives to take away from it. Thank God,
dude.
It's not hopeless like it was last year, but
no.
But it was exactly what we thought it would be, which is like, okay, where do we stand right now? And we got put exactly into our place.
We know where we stand. I'm going to say this though, and you're going to agree with me, but it's going to take you a second to translate it in your head.
Okay.
As much as we are up Baker Mayfield's ass, this town should be celebrating the greatest talent that we have on this team, which is Myles Garrett.
We sure haven't talked about him a lot.
We don't talk about this. This guy is he's got to be in the running right now for Defensive Player of the Year in the entire NFL.
Well, it's going to be Khalil Mack or Aaron Donald,
but he's right there. I mean, he's right there in the mix. He is, what's he got, 11 sacks now or 12 or something?
He had 1.5 yesterday.
Yeah, he's basically averaging a sack a game. He is in every quarterback's face every play. No one is stopping him. They double him, they triple him, they single him. No one is stopping this guy at all. I mean, quarterbacks are running out of the pocket. He's right on their back. He's forcing them to throw balls away. He is fantastic, man. And I try not to get too excited about this guy. This guy reminds me an awful lot, and I hate to, I don't do this often, but I was a humongous Giant fan of Lawrence Taylor. And
right.
and I don't want to. I'm not saying that Myles is there yet. He's certainly got room to grow and whatever. But my God, does he remind me a lot with his quicks and his ability and his power. He has a lot of the same trademarks as Lawrence Taylor did, man. Just he is spectacular to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I looked it up. He's got 11.5 sacks, but I mean, that's way more than anybody's had for the Browns in forever.
Yeah. Well, how many? I would be curious. How much does whatever you're looking at? Does it say how many hits that he has on the court, like quarterback hits?
He's got a number of them. It's up there.
It seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it seems like even when the other guys are getting sacks, he's right there. Like they're avoiding Myles and running into Agba or whoever. Doesn't it seem like that to you?
Oh no, I totally agree. And we've discussed this, but I just could you imagine another? I mean, Ogba's really not having that great of a season. If you put another guy that demands attention on the opposite side from Garrett to where they can't double team him, could you imagine what that guy would do? I mean, they're double teaming him every play.
You mean like what I was saying at the beginning of the year about getting Khalil Mack on the other side?
Yeah.
Gee, imagine that.
I just 2 first-round picks, man. I still think we need too many players to give up 2 first-rounders. But yeah, that
do you?
God,
aren't the Bears 9-3?
No, they're 8-4.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're 8-4. They're we would be that team. We would be that
hard
team.
Hard to argue, man. It's hard to argue.
They're winning games with Chase Daniel, for God's sakes. We would be that team if we because they've got who's on the other side for them that Marquise, what's his name, Marquise Smith he was the draft pick. He was the draft pick that was their number 1 draft pick this year.
Yeah, okay.
I think his name's Marquise Smith. That's supposed to be another stud on the other side. If we had Mack and Garrett, who are they gonna? What team? Forget let's say you line Myles up on the left side because the left side is always the stronger guy. What team has a right tackle that could handle Khalil Mack?
The answer would be none.
None. I mean, you would not have a quarterback throwing for 400 yards against you the entire season. Every team would have to come in here with the game plan of bubble screens and 3 to 5 yard outs because you would never have time to throw a 20-yard pass. We're that player away. And I believe that. I believe that if we had that player, we would have transformed and I said that, you could pull back the old podcasts. I said that the week that they said that he was on the trading block. I said we should give up the 2 number 1s, and you were like, oh, that's crazy. That's crazy talk.
Yeah, I'm wary of 2 years in a row
Would you give
giving
up
away a first-round pick. But I mean, if there was one involved and then some other stuff, okay.
Would you give up 2 number ones for Myles Garrett's twin?
I'm still gonna say no.
I would have done that trade yesterday. I would have done it then. I would have done it now, and I'd be enjoying some success. Maybe I should be in the Browns.
Jump into the coaching search.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. Well, it sounds, from everything I'm reading online, it's already done. It's Mike McCarthy.
Oh, it better not be McCarthy. I don't want anything to do with him.
I don't. If the guy couldn't make Aaron Rodgers happy, I sure don't want him messing with Baker Mayfield.
Yes, that is exactly my thoughts. And he's just one of those stubborn guys. Like, nope, we're doing it my way, no matter what. And you can't have that, especially the way the NFL is going now. Towards these, more collegiate style offenses.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have a guy that's, going to run some antiquated thing from 10 years ago. It's just not. It's not the way the league is running right now. And I don't want anything to do with him.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I keep hearing that, and I think that it's a little more media spin than it is actual reality. I think the media is just putting together, well, they all know each other, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, all right. Yeah, they all know each other, but at the same time, Dorsey knows that his job is on the line if he hires the wrong coach. This is going to be the most important coaching hire he's probably ever going to have to do.
He's never done it before. This is his first one.
Yeah, and it's going to be probably the most important one of his entire career.
Well, yeah, and they've said that this basically, like, if he gets it wrong, could cost him his job.
Of course.
So I'm issuing a guarantee right now. I guarantee that the coach that they hire is going to be an offensive coach, because anymore these offensive assistants, especially with like what Sean McVay is doing, everyone's looking for Sean McVay, and then Frank Reich has Andrew Luck and the Colts like surging again, and these offensive assistants and these coordinators and stuff, they keep getting snatched up for head coaching jobs.
Right.
So if you hire an offensive head coach, that guy's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I really think that a guy like Josh McDaniels is really in play. And I'm not saying it's him specifically, but a guy like that where he can do the head coaching job and run the offense, because you won't need an offensive coordinator.
Right.
And so you got a guy that's running the offense and is a head coach, so you're not going to lose him to other head coaching openings.
Right. I keep hearing DeFilippo's name coming back up in covers. It's like, I keep hearing that name. I'm like, come on, really? Now maybe he didn't get a fair shake here, before, but I don't want anybody, no offense to the guy, but I don't want anybody retreading here.
I don't either.
Even if it's new people, or new people around him, no. You know what? From a media standpoint, it's the first time he screws up. We're going to be pulling up clips of back, however many years ago that was. It's like, just bring in somebody fresh, some fresh mind. First of all, I hope they wait till the off season. I hope they don't. And by saying it, I know they're not going to hire somebody before the off season, but I hope they don't have everything lined up so that the day the season's over, they say, okay, here's our new coach, and everybody's fired, and new team. I'm hoping that they're going to take an ounce of time and maybe do some pre-interviewing right now, but take an ounce of time to actually talk to Mayfield and talk to, some of the key players that are on the field and say, okay, what will make us better for you, and develop. And I'm not saying bring in a coach that's a yes man. I don't want a LeBron scenario, but
for sure.
I'm hoping that they're going to at least consult the guy that they're basically building the team around and say, okay, what would make you a better player on the field? What, would it be an offense that features more of this, or an offense that features more of that, or a more balanced offense, or what would make you able to win more games for us? And
that's why I wonder how hard they're going to go after Lincoln Riley. I mean,
he's the hot name, but the hot names almost never pan out.
Well, but he was Baker's coach. He's friends with Baker, so you've got that relationship right there. Which, I mean, that's huge. And dude, Oklahoma's offense
Yeah,
is
it's great.
Potentially the best in NCAA history this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, you couple those things together, and it's like, okay, well.
Yeah, but do you automatically, if you bring in Lincoln Riley, and this is me talking out my ass because I'll admit it, I don't watch college football, but if you bring in Lincoln Riley, do you not automatically create yourself some sort of coaching standoff like we had with Hugh and Todd Haley, because you're going to have to bring in a very strong-minded defensive coordinator. Riley, for under my understanding of Oklahoma this year, unbelievable offense, unbelievably lousy defense.
Oh yeah, their defense is absolute dog crap.
So what Riley has proven is that he can't coach defense.
No, but he doesn't have to if you have a defensive coordinator. I mean, there's plenty of guys like that. You know?
I get that, but what I'm saying is, what did we have with Hugh? We had this standoff between, well, I'm the offensive guy. No, I'm going to stick my nose in it too. You know, is there going to be that power play?
But it's different, though, because if you have Lincoln Riley doing the offense and then you hire a defensive coordinator, it's not like Riley's going to go, I'm in the defense. Like, no, he's like, I'm doing the offense, you do the defense, we're good.
You think that, but is he constantly looking over his shoulder thinking, well, if I don't win now, this guy's already, positioning for my gig?
I don't think that would be a scenario, but
okay. I mean, I think that's what we saw this year at the beginning of this year was Haley thought he was getting the gig. And I just wouldn't want to see that guys are coaching for their job versus coaching for the wins.
Yeah.
Again, I think that the beginning of this year for us, Hugh Jackson was coaching for his job, not for wins. Not
the
for
stuff that came out about that guy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Piece of garbage, but
you
see what I'm saying. And I'm not saying Lincoln Riley's a bad choice. I don't know. I don't know anything about college football, really. I mean, I'm surprised I know that much about Oklahoma. But I spent this weekend. I watched my first and only college football of the entire year. I watched a half of the Ohio State game, and I actually watched the entire Appalachian State versus I don't even remember who they played. Somebody that wore red. I don't even know, because there was like a really good game on and I just tuned into the wrong thing and I didn't even know that I wasn't watching the right thing.
You're probably trying to watch like Georgia, Alabama or something.
And instead I'm watching App State and I don't know, Rutgers or something. I don't remember who it was.
Jeez.
I have no idea who it was. I mean, 'cause I don't watch it. I don't watch college football. It's like until you get to the pros, you're just in training to take my bags at the airport.
Right. Yeah, like I say, I mean, the college ranks, they're saying Lincoln Riley or that Matt Campbell guy from Iowa State. Matt Campbell's intriguing to me because, he has NFL coaching experience. He's still young. He's like 39, but he's actually been an assistant in the NFL.
Right.
So he's familiar with the league. He runs a crazy good offense as well. The name that I keep hearing that I really wonder if this is going to be like the top target for Dorsey is the special teams coordinator for the Chiefs, that Dave Tobe.
Yeah, I've heard his name.
Because I guess from everything I've heard, people keep repeating that he's been like touting this guy because he had him in Kansas City. He's been touting this guy as being an incredible leader and just an awesome choice as a coach since he was at Kansas City. Now he actually has the opportunity to actually hire the guy.
Right.
So that one would be the least surprising hire to me, I think, is if he went with Dave Tobe.
That's a big step up, though, isn't it, from special teams to head coach?
John Harbaugh did it. God, who's the other one that's real successful that's doing it? Is it Sean Payton?
What about a guy like John Harbaugh?
No, Payton was an offensive.
I know we hate him because he coaches the Ravens, but I mean, would we hate Harbaugh?
I'd be fine with Harbaugh. I mean, he's had success. Yeah. I mean, he's had success, and he hasn't made the playoffs in 4 years. Yeah, but he's got a Super Bowl ring, and he had him competitive. Yeah. When he had a really good defense, he got a really good defense now, and look what happens. Lamar Jackson is playing good quarterback, and they're winning. So all you gotta do is give that guy a quarterback and some defense, and he produces wins. And I've heard people complaining, I don't want him; he's a retread. Well, that's a dumb take to me. That's like the people say, I don't want Bruce Arians because he's old and he's antiquated. Like, yeah, but he was successful whenever he had a reasonable quarterback. He was a beast.
Yeah, and
he won a lot of games.
And Bruce Arians did not coach in a antiquated 1970s, 3 yards, 4 yards, first down mode. The Cardinals for the last few years, with Johnson and
Carson
Fitzgerald and Carson Palmer, and they were a high scoring offense. They were definitely a modern offense.
Yeah, and I know this probably doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but he wants to be here, and people say, "Oh, that shouldn't factor in." And I disagree with that, because I think anybody in any walk of life, if you're doing a job that you want to do, you bring extra juice to the table. It's like if I put my resume in with the Browns and I was, like doing the exact job I'm doing now, but I was doing it for the Cleveland Browns, I would work, that little bit harder because, I'm such a huge Browns fan. Like, I work in health insurance. I'm not a huge health insurance fan, but when you're doing something you actually want and you just like gotta have it,
right?
You're going to give extra to it. And I think people are not giving enough credit to that with Arians. And I don't see why he would be such a bad choice. And, people are saying, oh, well, he's 67. It's like, well, okay, yeah, but that Dick LeBeau guy is like in his 80s. So he's still going. So
yeah, no, I don't know that I would have I don't know that Arians would not be my first choice. I would rather have somebody that's a little bit younger personally, just because there's no long-term ability to it. After everything we've been through, I do not want to just keep doing this every 3 years. That's the next thing that we have to clean up. I want a Bill Belichick. I want a Mike McCarthy. I want somebody that's going to be in that seat for the next 15 years.
That's a legitimate argument.
And is going to win.
I can't disagree with that.
And you're not getting that with Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians, you're getting to take you to the top in the next 3 years, because he's not going to go that much further. He's not going to coach till he's 85. He's just not. It's just not going to happen. He's going to coach till he's about 70. He's got like 3-4 years at most. So I don't know that he would be my top choice. As far as wanting to be here, I think that if everything is equal, if you've got two candidates and one of them is way on record as saying that they want to be here, okay, then maybe that's when you make that choice. But I think for everything else, that doesn't outweigh anything else that has to be considered in coaching. To me,
I agree.
That's the very last criteria. I'm much more interested in, what kind of offensive schemes do they bring year to year? How do they vary year to year so that teams don't, get comfortable with reading your offense? What kind of creativity do they have? How do they work with discipline and players? How do they get along with players in the modern NFL? I'd be looking a lot more at that kind of stuff than I would be, well, this guy wants to live here. He used to live in Strongsville or where, whatever. I don't care if he's ever stepped foot in Ohio, if he's going to win.
No, I agree. I agree with that. And I'm not saying it's like that's my first criteria. I'm just saying he would bring a little something extra to the table that other guys might not. Yeah. I would have to say that if we're going to do the retread route, I'm fine with Harbaugh and I'm fine with Arians. Anybody else is like, no.
And definitely not Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, well,
not welcome. No.
He was successful with San Francisco, man.
Welcome.
He turned them around immediately.
Dude, how?
So,
and this shouldn't matter, and I know it shouldn't matter, but every single year, Ohio State, Michigan, they're going to put a microphone in front of his face. And every single year, you're going to hate your own head coach. And I'm right.
It's not college anymore, so
I understand that. But
dude,
tell me,
I just want to win.
Tell me that you don't see stupid Mary Kay Cabot saying, "So who you got for the game this week, Coach Harbaugh?" And him saying Michigan, and you not being like, "You really are a piece of shit."
No, but see, that wouldn't bother me because we've won 14 of 15 against them. So who gives a crap?
Yeah, it would
you
still bother
can you say Michigan all you want, a-hole, but it doesn't make it true.
It would still bother you. It would. See, this is where you're straight lying. It's you. It would bother you. It bothered you earlier this year when Peppers made some little stupid comment, and you immediately like, I went to Michigan, asshole.
Well, no, because
yes.
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, you're right.
That's what I'm saying.
And to be completely honest, they asked Baker Mayfield who he's voting for the Heisman, and he's like, "Well, I'm voting for Kyler Murray." I'm like, "You dick! Dwayne Haskins is better."
I'm throwing away my Baker Mania headband.
Yeah, I'm done with you, Bake. You and I are the outs.
Screw you, Tyrod.
Yeah, I want 5 back in there. Yeah, I think, you know, if I had a choice of coach, I think I would say Harbaugh would be my number one. I'm very intrigued by the Dave Tobe thing.
Yeah. Just
because, you know, Dorsey is so gung-ho about him, so it's like, okay, well, let's see what this guy's got. Like, that's interesting to me. And then again, I would be interested to see what, you know, Lincoln Riley would do, given that the most important thing in the franchise right now is Baker Mayfield, and that would be a perfect hire for Baker.
If he wants to leave, though, he's in a good situation himself,
dude,
isn't he?
I don't think that there's a chance, snowball's chance in hell that he's leaving. He's only been there a couple years as the head coach, and he can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah, they're already starting to build the plans for the statue for that guy.
Yeah, and he's already getting paid a ton of money. It's not like back in the day when the college coach like makes, you know, like $800,000 million, you know, $1 million a year, and then the NFL comes calling saying we'll give you $7 million a year.
Right.
You don't pass that up. But now, I mean, it's the money's comparable. So
right.
what's the, you know, what's the real allure here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
comparable. So I don't think he's going to do it.
And there's a lot more stability where he is right now. I mean, look, he could have 4 bad years in a row before they're going to fire him right now.
Yeah.
You know, where here 2 years you're toast, dude, and you might never get another shot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's got that crazy offense right now, and Kyler Murray, I'm almost positive because I don't see him in these quarterback draft boards, but I don't think he's coming out for the NFL draft, so he's going to have this guy back. He's a potential Heisman Trophy winner,
right?
And you know he's going to have him back next year, so they're going to have this unbelievable juggernaut offense next year too,
right? Yeah,
so he's got no reason to leave, really.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I guess we gotta wait 4 more games before we gotta worry about this nonsense, though, right?
Yeah, and you know, do it. Speaking to that, and then we'll get to our predictions and get out of here. But
yeah.
I mean, I'm still really interested in the Browns because interested in the Browns, but I mean, interested in the rest of the season. I haven't now that you're pretty much guaranteed the playoffs is mathematically impossible. I mean, technically it's not, but let's face it, it is.
It's done.
Yeah. I'm still really intrigued because I would love for them to win out, to finish over 500 for, you know, only the 3rd time since 1999.
Right.
And also to, you know, I mean, to finish on a 4-game winning streak and to win, you know, 6 of your last 7 games or whatever, 6 of your last 8, whatever the heck it is, you know, I mean, that would be such an accomplishment. So I'm interested to see if they can do that. I mean, it sucks for draft position, but I'm over rooting for draft picks at this point. So.
Yeah, I'm tired of draft day being a holiday around here.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, draft day should be, okay, well, are we going to pull off a trade to move way up the board for somebody?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's, you know, but yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I just want to see if they can actually run the table. I mean, I think the Baltimore game is going to be the toughest one, unless they do something really stupid and start Flacco instead of Jackson, which I don't know why they would do that. But
no,
I mean,
I'm not looking even past this week. I don't see this week as a win at all.
I do.
You really? You?
And it's my second favorite team, the Carolina Panthers. But dude, they are not playing well. And there's starting to be rumblings about coaches being fired, and you know, Cam Newton is just not a leader to me. I mean, ever since that 15-1 season where they made the Super Bowl and they lost to the Broncos, he was such a punk in the post-game interview. He bitched out,
yeah,
and he just doesn't have he doesn't have that Baker Mayfield in him, and he's not a leader. He turns into a, kind of a pussy when things go badly. And they've lost 4 in a row now, and it's not looking good. And the Browns, as much as they got work this week, I think that they still have a lot of juice, and they're going to be in front of the home crowd, which is always, a good thing, especially this year with the fans fired up because they actually, look good and people want to see Baker. So yeah, I think the Browns are going to win this week. I mean, it might be a close game, like maybe a touchdown or a field goal. So I would say, like Browns 27-24, but I think they can beat them. I really do.
I think that it's not an overwhelming win for Carolina, but I think Carolina wins. I just think that they've played 4 bad ones. This is their only shot to turn it around, and they're going to come in here pissed off and hungry. And I don't know if you watched any of Cam's press conference yesterday, but he's nothing but angry. And it's like, ugh, I was hoping that they would get their win this week.
He threw 4 picks yesterday, man.
I know, and he was nothing but angry about it. And
he's mistake prone, dude.
And I don't think he's good. I've never thought that he was good. In the 15-1 season, I didn't think he was that good. And I always hated that stupid Superman nonsense that he was doing and all the dabbing and all that other crap. I always thought that he was everything that was wrong with the NFL. I still do. But it's hard to say that's a team that's just underproducing, but is a much better team than what they've been playing to.
They were 6-2, now they're 6-6. So
that's what I'm saying. They started out strong, which means that there's a strong team there somewhere, and if they're going to turn it, this is the week that they have to, or they're done. If they don't turn it this week, they're done. The coach is done. Everything is over for that franchise. That franchise officially turns the corner this week. So I think they're going to play with a huge chip on their shoulder, needing this win, and I think they're going to get it.
Well, then we disagree. We'll see what happens. Yeah. We disagreed last week, and unfortunately I came out on the better end of that. But
you were right.
Yeah. Well, there's another coach. If Ron Rivera becomes available, I would not be averse to taking him. But he's a defensive guy, so I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And before we get out of here, I do have to say one thing because you were talking about the Superman thing.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot to make one point. I pray the Browns never do that, like 6 or 7 guys in the group pose celebrating crap. Dude, I literally, and this is how vocal I get during football, and I just don't think, and maybe a couple shots of Crown and a couple beers had something to do with this, but right in front of my buddy's 5-year-old son, they did that stupid pose thing after just it wasn't like they scored, they just got an interception.
Yeah.
And the second time I said, God damn it, does anybody have a gun in that stadium? Just take a few of them out and teach them a lesson to not be a bunch of douchebags. My wife's like, John, there's a kid in the room. I was like, oops.
I hate that too. It's like, you know what? It's not it's embarrassing that these guys have to, showboat to try and get themselves a bigger contract or a bigger shoe deal or whatever it is. I don't even know why they do it. It just makes them look like an ass.
Yeah. And like I said, after a touchdown, okay, celebrate a touchdown. Maybe
even a touchdown, the guy that scored it, celebrate, or everybody come and high five and all this choreographed garbage. Just stop.
Yeah, it's terrible. It just looks so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it. I can't stand it. And if I ever see the Browns doing it, I'm gonna blast them. Like, stop it. Enough with the douchebaggery. That's just ridiculous. I hate it.
Score your touchdown. Act like you've been there. Be a pro.
I was just about to use that phrase.
Yeah, be a pro. Just it's not the first interception you've ever been part of. That was exactly what I thought yesterday, and it drives me nuts too. But when they all sit down, they're like, like somebody's taking their picture or something when they're doing that shit.
Yep.
I literally was sitting there like, was this the first time you've ever had an interception that you've been on the field for? You douchebags, get up!
Yeah. Yeah, that was I couldn't stand that. I was like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah, I hate it, and I'll be honest, I hated it last year when the Browns were doing the nonsense even on the sidelines with the glasses. Remember when? Was that last year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, with the glasses, and they're putting on the sunglasses when they scored a touchdown. I was like, all right, your team is like 0 and forever. Stop. I don't care if you scored a 30-point touchdown. It's not impressive. You haven't won.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. Oh, well. Screw those guys.
All right. Well, let's see what happens this week against Carolina. Go Browns. I think Baker's going to turn it around. So let's see what happens, man. Let's hope we're back on our happy podcast.
Yeah, let's see.
Next Monday.
This wasn't too bad.
Yeah, but I like it better after a win. And you said your voice was bad this week. Don't worry, mine will be roach next week because I have a gig on Friday and Saturday night. Then I'm going to the game on Sunday.
Nice.
So I'm gonna be in fine form on Monday.
How about those Browns?
That's pretty much gonna be it, man. So, all right, guys, thanks for checking out another episode of the Dawg Pound Podcast. Don't forget you can give us a call, leave us a voicemail. I'm drawing a blank on the number right now, but it is on the website and on the Twitter and all that stuff. So if you'd like to have your voice heard, give us a call. Until then, as usual, here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Thanks for listening to the Dawg Pound Podcast. Be part of the next edition by sending your thoughts to Woof, that's WOOF, at dawgpoundpodcast.com or by calling us at 216-503-6404. See you next time, and go Browns!
Get it up!